Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is Classic Beef Chili. Well, today I'm going to share with you the chili recipe that I grew up being familiar with here in the Midwest in the United States. Now, there's chilies all over the place, so for those of you not familiar with the cuisine in the Midwest, what we're talking about here is essentially a beef-based stew with tomatoes and beans. I mean, that's really, in the simplest form, what we're gonna be cooking. Now, I know down in Texas, they don't like the beans. If we do like a chili Colorado, we're gonna be using dried chilies. But today, this is really the quintessential classic beef chili. So today we're gonna be smoking our chili on the Kamado Joe ceramic grill, and the first thing I wanna do is get that coal bed going. Really don't need a ton in here because we're only gonna be smoking for less than 2 hours. We gotta throw some starter cubes in here and get this thing lit up. Close the lid up and just swing the airflow all the way open. Now, since the ground beef is kind of the foundation of this chili, we're gonna start there. We're actually gonna use brisket today. I've got a bit of point meat left over, which is great. So I'm gonna cube that up, and I'm actually gonna process it in a food processor because even though we are doing sort of a ground meat, I want it to still have some texture and not be completely fine once we cook it down. So we need about 1.5 pounds of brisket meat, and this is gonna be a little bit more than that, but that's fine. We might as well just knock it all down because I'll use this ground brisket in other recipes as well. So I'm just gonna cut this into strips and then down into cubes. If you wanna trim some of that fat off, that's up to you. That's just gonna kind of change your fat ratio. This is going to yield you a pretty fatty ground beef, probably in that like 75-25 range. So we're gonna be doing this working in batches here because we don't wanna overload our food processor. So you can see how this has got more texture to it than ground beef, but it's also chopped down pretty fine. So 1.5 pounds. So here's another addition to the chili that I don't always use, but it's really nice for extra texture and flavor, and that's a smoked beef sausage. So this is fully smoked, fully cooked right now. So we're just gonna dice this up to throw it into the chili. And again, it just gives us another element as far as the texture goes and as far as that flavor goes. This is not a strong sausage flavor, so overall, it's really gonna feel like a ground beef chili, just with a little extra something added. So now for the veggies, we're gonna start with 2 cups of diced yellow onion. And for our chili, we're gonna be using a couple of poblanos and a couple of jalapenos. And while I love the poblanos for their flavor and their mildness, I like to add a little bit of heat with the jalapeno. Usually it's not gonna kill anyone. If you leave the seeds in, you'll get a little bit more of that, so that's what we're gonna do today. So last bit of knife work here, we need to do a couple tablespoons of garlic. So we'll get the skins off of them here, and crushed down and minced up. We've got a good coal bed going. We're gonna start off direct here and preheat our Dutch oven. So let's start with our ground brisket. Plenty of fat in here, so we don't need to worry about adding any oil initially. We can also go ahead and add in our smoked sausage. So we're gonna get a brown on here and start to render out the fat before we add in our onions and peppers. So we get that fat rendering out. Let's go ahead and throw in our onions and our peppers now, as well as some seasonings. Now I'm gonna do about 1 tablespoon here of the Cattleman's Grill 8-second ride for that chili powder base. Then we need a little bit more salt, so we're also gonna do a tablespoon of the Jacobson's black garlic salt. So add in some of that garlicky flavor. And last, 1 tablespoon of cumin. So let's kind of sweat these onions down in the brisket fat. And we'll look for those to start softening. So what you're seeing now starting out is we're over that direct charcoal heat, and it's pretty intense. We need the Dutch oven to be hot so that we can render the fat, we can cook the veggies. But once we've really got that chili started, we're gonna add a chunk of smoking wood to the charcoal base. We're gonna go indirect and smoke for about an hour at a much lower temperature so we get that smoke flavor and all those flavors can meld. All right, so those onions are looking translucent. We can go ahead and move on. We're gonna add some garlic in now. We don't want to scorch this garlic. We shouldn't have any problems with that with the quantity of the meat and veggies we have in here already, but we'll keep it moving for about 60 seconds here just to wake up all those flavors and aromas in the garlic. At the same time, we can go ahead and add our chipotles and adobo. So this is about a 1/4 cup of chipotles and adobo sauce that I've just minced up the chipotles, and this is going to add a nice depth of smokiness and a little bit of heat to our chili. And that garlic and those chipotles immediately become aromatic. We're really building all the layers of the chili here. So let's continue now with our beans. We've got 2 different kidney beans we're gonna add. And then our tomatoes. We've got some Italian whole peeled tomatoes. So let's just break these up a little bit. I want that texture in this chili in the end. I definitely don't want this to be smooth, but we are gonna break these down just a little bit. And what we don't get done with the spoon here, we'll get done with time as our chili smokes over the next hour or so. So that's just about everything but our braising liquid. So let's go ahead and finish it off here with 2 cups of beef stock. You can use veggie stock, either way. And we'll do a cup of amber beer. A cup to 12 ounces. If you want to go whole beer, you can do that as well, but we only need about 3 cups of braising liquid total, which saves a few sips for the chef. And if you don't want the beer in there, just go ahead and do all stock. That'll work out just as well. Almost as well. So now we're just gonna bring all that up to a simmer. We're gonna switch to a smoking setup and add that smoking wood. So feel free to use your favorite smoking wood. We're gonna use cherry wood today. Hickory wood's a great idea, pecan, really whatever your preference. We're gonna slide that plate back into place. And immediately smelling that cherry smoke. You guys can see it coming around the Dutch oven right now. So let's close this thing up and stabilize it around 300 degrees. Well, our chili's been smoking away for about an hour now. It's looking really good. It's about time to pull it off. So just simmering away in there. It's really thickened up. And that's part of what we need during that smoking time, is for that consistency to come from just a stock and soup consistency into what we'd really think of as chili. I'm just gonna have a little taste straight out of the pot, make sure we don't need to change any of our seasonings here. It's spot on. I mean, I don't think I would change anything flavor-wise. I love that it's got a mild heat to it, but it's not gonna blow out your taste buds. The texture is fantastic. You get a little bit of extra bite out of the brisket, but everything else just kind of melts away in your mouth. The only thing it's really missing is those toppings, and that's a big part of this Midwest chili, is you gotta pile on some of those toppings. So it's looking hearty already. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna pile on some sharp cheddar cheese, a little bit of sour cream for that creaminess, and then the bite of some raw onion. That's where it's at. That's where it's at. Crunchy, creamy, big savory flavors. It's all happening. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoyed the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All Things Barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.